Very nice. Okay, so there is a brief, very brief background to a very long problem. For Sun Yu, it's been 4 years, and the term code harassment has come up repeatedly. Because at some point, it's not code enforcement. When you're targeted by 4 or 5 different city departments because of a system that allows an individual to file citation after citation after citation, and this goes on for 4 years, and it goes on randomly throughout the neighborhood, and it spikes in this neighborhood more than any other neighborhood in Los Angeles County, 177 violations. So that is the reason Neighbors United LA gathered together to say, is there some way that we can make this situation better? I'm trying to protect my family, and other people are trying to tear down a fence that protects my family. And so this group went down to City Hall. We got a motion through City Hall that said the City Planning Department is going to review this issue and come up with recommendations. And the City Finance Department is going to review this issue and decide whether or not there are avenues to refund some of the fines and remove some of the liens. That all sounded pretty good. And then we met with CD13, and they were very kind in working with us, and in fact it was Eric Garcetti who got this motion through City Council. There was Eric Garcetti who left the council chambers and spoke with this group for 2 hours. So we're pretty happy about that. The part that we have concern still is that we had a meeting, I believe, in November, and there were 4 issues that we asked for some resolution on. What's the status of the moratorium? Where is the letter from the city department saying this action has come to a moratorium and further action is being decided? And so we would like to hear, please, and I hate to put Anna on the spot because she's so nice to give up her time and come speak to us tonight. We're here partially to hear from you all, but also partially to hear from the city. And so Anna, the Chief of Staff for CD13, is here tonight. She's going to come up, maybe answer a few questions, and let us know the updates and where the motion is, where the recommendations are, and where the letters are from the city officials that say that these injunctions are temporarily halted. Ladies and gentlemen, Anna Guerrero, Chief of Staff of CD13. Thank you, Anna. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Good evening. Buenas noches. My name is Ana Guerrero. I am Eric Garcetti's Chief of Staff. Happy to be here tonight. Soy jefe de personal para Eric Garcetti, que representa. Okay. For Councilmember Garcetti, which represents the 13th District. So, when we met in November, we reported back to you all that Councilmember Garcetti had requested a moratorium. So the moratorium is in place. So I'm assuming that nobody has gotten further notices. I'm sure I would have heard from any of you if you had. So the moratorium is in place. Nothing has changed as far as that. Okay, so if Brian could please take your information, we'll follow up on that. So that has not changed, and if anybody has gotten something, we apologize for that. It's a big city, a big department, and sometimes things like that happen, but we will follow up on that. So the moratorium is in place. The city departments are working to put together the reports that we request they are supposed to present to the Planning and Land Use Management Committee. We would like to propose that the motion be heard in committee on February 14th. Which is Valentine's Day. So if that's okay with you all, we will request a hearing on that date.
It is something we have to discuss, find out.
Feel free to let us know. I mean, the Planning and Land Use Management Committee meets twice a month. If the 14th does not work for you, somebody should call me back so that we can identify another date that works. I think the committee meets on Tuesdays at about 1 or 2 in the afternoon. So you all should come to that meeting prepared with your comments. I assume that there will also be people who attend the hearing who may not agree with an overheight fence to me, so they will be there as well, and that is part of the process, is to hear all those comments. So, you know, that's so as we take back the reports from the departments and the committee hears the comments from various people in the community and their different opinions, then the legislation will move forward with a recommendation back to City Council. So, you know, we're talking about changing a city law. So it is a, you know, it is a process. It isn't quick, and it is our responsibility to make sure that we're hearing from everyone in order to develop a new law that will best meet the needs of the residents of this area. So we will take. So if there's anyone else that has gotten any notification from Building and Safety, my colleague, who I should have introduced, Ryan Carpio. Do you mind standing and waving? He's my colleague. If anybody else got a notification from Building and Safety since we requested the moratorium back in October, please give us your information. We'll follow up on that immediately, because all those fines have been stayed. So let us know and we'll follow up on that. And then I will wait to hear back from one of you about whether or not we should proceed with the hearing on the 14th of February.
Okay, a question for you. Do we need another meeting like this one to show you, you know, the support of the community to, yes, the process?
No, I think you guys have showed that you have a lot of support for your idea. I think that's been loud and clear. You know, we're talking about developing a new law, which requires a process that is established by the city charter.
We understand that.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other question is, do we have to, everybody has to go to the city council to show like that we are doing here?
You can, obviously, and we welcome it, but I think that it's been a clear message. You're an organized group. You have shown that there's a lot of support for this. So I know, speaking for my boss, Councilmember Garcetti, I don't think he needs to see that you have, you know, he knows that there's a lot of people that are organized by your organization, so he knows that from personal experience. But I do recommend that you participate, especially because there will be other people with different opinions coming to the meeting, so it's important to show that there is support, ongoing support for the proposal.
I have a question. All of this has been precipitated by a single individual. Now, how can the city stand by and allow an individual to exert that kind of power over an entire community?
So, I mean, these are city laws, and when when somebody calls and reports a violation to a law, the Building and Safety Department is obligated to investigate. In the same way that if somebody calls the LAPD to report a possible crime, they are obligated to respond.
If one individual is doing it all these times, that send up a flag of some sort?
It was a violation of the city code, and the Building and Safety Department is obligated to respond.
Okay, so that's why we got the moratorium.
Yes.
So we got that, and we appreciate that. Now, one of the things we asked about that at the last meeting that you attended was,
Hi. Well, you have a letter here from Councilmember Garcetti to the department. It's on for the length, for the duration of time it's going to take us to finish this legislative process for this new law.
now this is thank you for that comment, because this is exactly the same question that came up last time. So there's a letter to the department These people have received threatening letters from the department, threatening liens on their homes and threatening fines. So officially, it's very easy for them to get that letter. And we asked last time, can we get a letter from those same departments saying this is on hold? You no longer have to worry about ongoing threats.
Do you have a lien on your property? If so, I'd like to know, because nobody should have gotten anything saying there's a lien on your property. We've checked on every
I cannot
single
hear
property.
you, I'm sorry. I need to hear you to be able to interpret.
But what is the status of the request that we had, that you said you would look into, that we would get a response? The 177 people who were cited would get a response that would say, we're not pursuing this. This is a moratorium. You got this letter to the Department of Guerrero. These people need a response to the letter, the citations they received. They've received an official threatening notice.
Now, have you gotten a notice since we met in October? Have you?
No, absolutely.
Okay, that is because we have asked for
But I think
But
the
I'm asking
point
for
is,
something different. Hang on a minute, please.
yes, go ahead.
We're asking for a letter that rescinds what they've already received. And that was something that you said you'd go back and you say, okay, where are we at now? And so if you get a letter saying you got a lien on your house, we thought it would be appropriate to get another letter saying this action is on hold until this process, which we appreciate, takes a long time. I know that. And so that could be a couple years. Meanwhile, these guys are in limbo. They've got this dark cloud hanging over their property and the safety of their families. And so we were requesting an official notification saying this whole process is on hold for this neighborhood. What's the status of that?
Okay, we will ask the Building and Safety Department to send that to you.
Okay.
Well, the city attorney would be the other one that sent the letter saying fees, fines, and, no, garnishment, liens, and legal action. Those letters, for example, Mr. Torres has one that's from the city attorney, but there's no letter rescinding it, which means he has a cloud over his home, head, family, and he wants specifically a letter from the same city attorney office saying it's on hold or forgiven or whatever the status is. In other words, he can't get anything except a verbal, and verbals aren't reassuring the people that own property that technically is under a lien.
We'll get him a letter from the Building and Safety Department. I have to talk to the city attorney about their letter.
Okay.
And the other thing is, remember the change in the words in the amendment? Will we ask you?
So what his concern is that the way we wrote the motion, we wanted to have, we wanted to explore all the options, including at the time the option of any possible liens being attached to the property sale. So
if you try to sell your house with a lien on it.
yes. So again, the motion didn't request that that be put in the law eventually. It just requested options, which is what we wanted to have all the options available to us. But he has asked for Councilmember Garcetti to introduce a motion
Change that language.
to change that language. Sure, fine.
So that's a yes.
Because there's no liens, so it's perfectly fine.
Okay, so he'll introduce that motion?
Yes. That may not happen until council, so it goes back to city council. It can't happen in the committee process.
So I'm sorry, can I interrupt? There are no liens as a result of these actions, correct?
There's no liens.
Fines.
There's fines,
Fines.
and they're all on,
And there's threats of liens.
but there's no liens.
There's threats. The city of LA is threatening someone whose English is their second language and who's afraid of authority. And I've seen those letters. They're pretty nasty letters. So that's why we wanted the letter saying that threat is now on hold. That threat, we're taking a step back from the nasty language that we gave you the first time. We're going to take a little step back. So we're hoping the city attorney and planning or
Buildings.
building safety can send that. And is there a way we can get a list of all the people who have been cited in this area?
Well, I would imagine that that's private information. These people may not want to be found. So, I mean, so I think what we can try to do is when we get to the point of actually finalizing the ordinance language, we can ask the planning department to notify everyone living within the proposed boundaries that this legislation is up for discussion, so that they can participate in the process if they choose to.
Yes, sir.
I have a question actually. Other than an overheight fence, are there any sorts of restrictions to an overheight fence?
Yeah, yes, I mean,
I'm not really sure if I'm for or against an overheight fence at the very moment, so I'd like to learn more. So all I know is that it's a 42-inch height limit currently, and anything over will be overheight fence. But are there, in addition, rules and regulations, and where else can I find that?
that's a very good question. And that's an important question because as we work to develop this law, the law will establish what kinds of overheight fences can exist, which doesn't necessarily mean that all the current overheight fences are going to end up being legal, because this law will establish that.
Okay,
So that is something that is still up for discussion as we move forward in this process. So the city attorney is going to come back with a proposed, the planning department is going to come back with a proposed ordinance for this district that is going to establish that. So that will be, once it's ready, that will be available on our city website, and I'm sure all these folks here are pros at going through the city website and actually finding ordinances once they're made public. We don't have it yet either, because the departments are still working on the language. So once that is ready, we'd be happy to provide it to the organizers so that they can share it with you.
Okay, well, next time there's a hearing, I believe, right? And in order for me to speak in favor or against an overheight fence area district, I'd like, there has to be some sort of regulations that I can make my decision on.
Sure. Well, one option would be to not have a hearing in February, would be to have a hearing, say in March, and allow for more time for you all to review the proposed ordinance. It's not ready yet.
Okay.
So you could request more time to study it.
Okay, I'd like to make a request in order time. So I can review some sort of,
It's just not ready yet, so it's a little bit hard to request more time because it's unclear how much more time to request. But just so you know, it will be public, but maybe you want more time to study it before there's an actual public hearing about it.
There is something that I would like to, at the time that you would be writing all those regulations, and New LA we would like to be, if it is possible, present when you are writing, because when you write the motion, remember you just take a little time and you didn't put the words that we want. So I would like to, personally, I would like to be present when you guys start redacting. I mean, in order to be informed before it's been approved. Can you do that for me?
Well, the ordinance is going to be written by the planning department and the city attorney. We actually don't write them. I don't write them myself.
Yeah, but they should take in consideration, the people who being affected for this problem.
Absolutely.
Because it's one person, the city take in consideration one person, making a big problem for you. See, it's not fair if you're going to write something for us, again, with the words that we don't understand and we don't going to
that's our job. So what I think, what I
we're going to
suggest,
be affected.
once the ordinance is, the draft ordinance is completed, I think you should all study, and then you should send us back your comments. You should send us what you think it should say. And then, other people who have different opinions can also send us in writing, in person, verbally, their opinions of what they think it should say.
Good, thank you.
Okay, so, and I just have two more questions. You rightly said that the way the system is now, if someone files a complaint, the building safety department has to act on it the same way that the police have to act on a complaint. And so is there any discussion to have this checks and balance? I mean, how far does that system allow complaints to be filed? At some point, is 10 too many? Is 200 too many in one neighborhood? Is 300 too many? In the same way that it seems like it's only fair that if you've got some problem at the end of the street, you should be able to go to your city and say, I've got a problem at the end of the street. But is there some system of checks and balances where 200 citations can't be filed against one neighborhood by one person? Is there any discussion with that? I know that's the way it is now, but is there any discussion to maybe put some checks and balances in there?
Well, I mean, I think that you all are the checks and balance. You're organizing, you're getting results, you're creating change.
But that's not allowed, that's not checking that person that's doing it. He's still running around, taking names and probably getting ready to, as soon as this storm blows over, to start it up again. How can you allow one person to file almost 200 complaints? It seems like there should be something to check that person or from one individual. I could drive around the city and take thousands of names and addresses and come down and complain about it. Would the city act on them just because I don't like the way this looks or that looks or the other thing? That doesn't seem to be right to me.
So it seems like this, this focus here is a good way to start a discussion to get a system check and balance. Because it seems a little off kilter.